Okay, so we've looked at what poetry is, who would write it, and the differences between poetry for the page and poetry for the stage. Now, I'd like to briefly touch on 5 simple tips to help you find success in whatever kind of poetry you pursue. 1. Be honest. This doesn't mean that every poem you write is from your perspective or that you can only write about things you've actually seen or experienced. But it does mean that you're seeking to communicate truth rather than whatever it is you think people might want to hear. Remember, the truth is always stranger and much more interesting than fiction. If it doesn't seem that way to you, then odds are you're not looking deep enough into whatever it is that you're trying to communicate. 2. Be brave. Poetry is often used as a confessional booth of sorts, a place where we air our dirty laundry, our shameful secrets, and our unpleasant tragedies. For many, this is the most difficult part of poetry. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to call attention to themselves. They don't want to risk being vulnerable when they don't know how an audience might react to their work. Their work is personal. This fear is completely normal, but please don't let it limit you. Bravery is not the absence of fear. It's being scared out of your mind and doing what you believe is right anyway. 3. Be persistent. Being a poet is not easy at the best of times, but especially depending on your background, geographical location, or cultural context, you might be facing what feels like overwhelming resistance to your voice being heard. Whether it's failing to be published time after time after time, or being ridiculed by those who don't want to take you seriously, you can't let what seems like short-term failure stop you from pursuing long-term success. It's not about how many times you fall. It's about how many times you get back up and keep stumbling towards greatness. So keep going. You'll get there. 4. Be creative. You may have picked up on the fact that I believe creativity is a fundamental part of being a well and whole human being. This doesn't mean everyone needs to be openly or visibly creative. Being creative is going to look different for every person, and there are a lot of people who would prefer to be creative in solitude, and that's okay. But if you're not actively and intentionally pursuing creativity in your life, you're missing out on a beautiful part of what it means to be alive, and eventually it's going to have a negative impact on your well-being. So break out of your rut, do something new, explore your personal creativity, and if you're willing, share it with the people in your life. You'd be surprised how much good you can accomplish by doing so. 5. Be curious. Being a poet means never not observing and learning and exploring. In short, you've got to be insatiably curious about yourself, about others, and about the world around you in order to discover the truths of our existence. So whether it's taking 5 minutes a day with Wikipedia on your lunch break to research something you've never heard of, or signing up for classes at your local community college, or even the occasional afternoon spent people watching at your local coffee shop, you need to show some interest in the world around you. You never know what you might find, but you're guaranteed to have something to write about.